So many life changes since last season, and the Rams employees just want to know, are their jobs safe, yes or no? We'll find out soon. Don't go anywhere.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hold up.
Here we go.
Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way, yeah. Get out the way, get the fuck up on my way, yeah.
We were just talking about how we used to, like, we didn't really listen to this song.
Right.
I'm like, yo, I have to add it to my workout playlist.
For sure.
Like,
For sure. I love it.
I'm feeling it. Okay. What's going on, y'all? I am Ivanna. We have, we changed things up a little bit. We have a different panel. We are going to miss them, though. Again, I'm Ivanna. And who do I have joining me?
I'm Tenere Williams. Good to be here.
We have the same last name.
Oh, there we They're like, who your relatives? No.
Wow. Yo, do you have some family in Texas?
Not that I know of. But we might have to dive into that.
Yeah, probably so. Go down our family tree. That's crazy. Wow. Yes. Okay, well, we are the Williams cousins.
Right.
Here on the Ballers After Show. We are in season 4, episode 1, Rough Ride. And it's kind of rough.
Always getting into some, I mean, that's why we love this show. And it's just, I don't know, the world of professional athletics,
man. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of new news except for, we're going to discuss that at the end, but I do want to talk about our segments. We're going to discuss Rickey and his whole new family life, and where's his career going? Hello. Spencer and Joe, and then we cannot not talk about Charles, because...
Yeah, he's in a situation. Well, yeah, we'll definitely dive into that.
What were your overall thoughts on this episode 1?
Well, definitely in terms of moving out to the West Coast now. I think that's going to add definitely a different vibe.
Yeah.
Coming out of Miami, now coming to LA, Hollywood. Who knows what else for in future episodes is going to happen. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. So.
I want to see all the new places they're going to shoot on location.
Because
some of Jill, who was on our panel she was a lead host last season or the whole time, I think. She used to say, I can tell that they're shooting all this in LA anyway. So I just want to see what new places are they going to try and showcase that they're now in LA and not in Miami,
Right.
So.
Right. Well, it's funny because like you said, now that they're in LA, it could just be more of people are like, oh yeah, that is LA, not like, hey, that's
it looks kind of like the palm trees look like LA palm.
Right.
That's what they used to say. They were like, I know the difference between LA palm trees and Miami palm trees, and I'd be like, what? So
what's funny actually? Just quick side note: they used to film CSI Miami in Long Beach for a lot of the.
I heard that.
So when I found that out, you're kind of like, oh really? And then you'd be looking at the buildings I have been there. I do know that. So
that's definitely LA. That's hilarious. Okay, so topic 1, I definitely want to get into Rickey. I feel like that's we have to discuss that one. His family life is he's a family man now. He is truly a family. We didn't see his dad though.
No.
Which I want to see his dad. His dad was pretty funny. TTD is annoying as always. My God. But so we saw that at the top of the episode that Rickey was given a $5 million check by Spencer. And when he opened a check, I was not expecting that. But that was like, oh, okay. Well, okay.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And then I saw we're going to discuss also Spencer, but, I saw that he was asking Spencer to come with him, to LA. And Spencer's like, LA is just not for me,
Right.
But a month later, we see that they all just made the move to LA.
Right.
Let's go.
Well, I think it'll be interesting because I always feel, and I hear these stories a lot because, like we were mentioning, we talk a lot about sports and stuff.
Yeah.
How it's hard for some of these guys to walk away, so the fact that we see Rickey no, I'm finished, I'm good, I'm ready to, and then he's taking secret phone calls, from Jason, yeah, man, what's going on, so that whole.
But with his health last season, I'm like, should he retire though?
That's the thing.
I feel like it's a yes.
And I feel like that's probably a tough in real life, like with real, especially like football players, because they put their bodies just through the most of all,
through so much
of all the athletics.
Yeah, and like I come from Texas, so it's like God family football for us. But what young men don't really understand is that it's not a sport that you can play till you're 50. Right. You probably will retire around 30, and it's not heard of, because in America, for the rest of us, with our regular careers, we're not retiring at 30, and it's really hard to try and focus now on a career change, and now you have your mental and physical health to also worry about at 30. Like, that's a lot.
Right. And especially for a lot of those guys, I mean, for so long, you get to the professional level.
Yeah. I
mean, you pretty much have been like either the best always, like been told, like, I mean, your ego's bit, like I'm immortal, like I don't, and sometimes it might take one of those. I mean, you don't want it to get to like some career-ending injury, or
for sure.
And you feel like, and especially I feel like with whether it's the wives or the families, probably having those discussions, because they probably maybe either see things and go, no, I'm good, and that's what I feel like even in the NFL right now, the whole like with CTE and all, dealing with all the brain stuff, and but it's tough because those guys are like, hey, this is what I do, and probably it scares them thinking like life without football, it's like,
and what is that
exactly
when you've been playing it all your life? What is life without football?
And a lot of these guys, like you said, you can't play it to you, so a lot of them, they're in their late 20s.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, I've lived like a long time, it's
no,
like
not at all.
Most of the people are just getting going in their careers, and it's like, hey, mine's over because I'm a running back in the NFL,
for sure. And I've had like these CTE scans all the time, like what's going on. I do want to know too, because I'm happy to see him and Amber together. Also, she was on our show before. Hey, girlfriend, Brittany. I want to know, too, I want to see if they're going to explore more, because I think I've heard her say before, like, oh, why don't you pick up the phone call? She said that before whenever Rickey was dodging phone calls. But I want to know if she's going to pressure him to try and stay and play, or, I wonder what type of influence she's going to be.
And then that's another thing when she was saying that, how she was saying that, wherever, what was it, the baby goes where mama goes and mama goes. And like you said, the fact, especially that he has a child, and it's kind of one of those things that I would feel like maybe she's like, hey, I want to get some roots, like she said, like I don't want to be in some house and you halfway across the country or somewhere else. Sure. So that family dynamic, I think, is a lot, especially with a kid. I feel like even like if you're together with someone, but it's just like, hey, it's just you and me, maybe that's a little more doable, but it's like, hey, you get a kid.
Yeah, it's so much more complicated when a child is involved. I don't have children, I don't know, but it is, you know.
Right.
I also wanted to know, too, because you and I were discussing before we started this show, because he was discussing with the realtor that he might retire. I'm like, okay, but he got the $5 million check, so is he going to retire? Like,
right. Well, I thought he said that he would, like, well, who was it TT who said that he might retire? And I thought he said like, no, I'm definitely retiring.
Yeah. So again, like, so what's it gonna be? Because I feel like he's gonna have people who are pushing him to do it, and other people are like, don't do that, dude. Like, come on now, your health is so much more important.
It's also just all the amount of people in those guys' lives that are just always probably tugging on them, like, hey, you gonna do this,
Oh, it's like, very indicative of like the tussle that they go through. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
It's in. Like you said, if you got a call from Cleveland, agent says Cleveland, like she said, she's like, I don't want to. Well, first it was funny when she's like, I don't want to be in no $15 million mansion in Newport. I was like, oh, the struggles.
Oh God, not a 15. Oh, in Newport.
I was like, I'm sure there's probably other people who could be like, I've had some tougher times.
Right? No, this is fine. Right? You can stay. Like, that's me.
I know my wife would be like, go make that money. We'll be fine.
See you when you get home.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see you when we see you.
In a month.
Right.
So that was another thing. Okay, so then Rickey, he wants to buy this $15 million home.
Right.
But like I said, we're just not clear on his retirement. But he's like, hey, let's just, what'd he say? Settle some roots?
Right, like throw down some roots or something.
Like that. Or something.
And the way that he did it
it seemed impulsive.
That was my biggest thing, when he was just like, how much is this one? 15? Let's do it.
How often is he receiving big checks like that $5 million one that he got? Right. That's one check, and then he bought a home for $15 million. Well, he's trying to buy a home for 15.
And I think he was trying to TTD was trying to tell him, right, like, especially if he doesn't know what his next move in life is to get a $15 million house, and it's like, I don't have that. I don't know what that income stream might be, where it's going, because I think that's another thing where he's, like you said, you see a lot of these guys fall into financial problems after, because it's just like, hey, I'm living that life. And, because when I'm playing, I'm getting my big but when that stuff stops, and even if you have a job outside, but what if that income isn't what you were
I was like, this is about to be a 30 for 30 special. So, like, I've seen enough to know that so many young players spend over their head, you know? And like you said, if you don't know where your next move is, like, what are you doing?
Right. And it's like you said, I feel like they're trying to live up to the certain lifestyle, or like, hey, so-and-so's, it's just like, you don't have so-and-so's money, but it's like they still want, right, So
for sure,
and I don't know, like you said, if she would be, I don't know if she would be the type like, hey, I gotta, like you said, I gotta project being in a 15, so we gotta get this, or be like, hey, you know what, I'm cool with just a nice, a nice house, nice neighborhood, like we don't have to be over the top. So
I don't know, we'll see. We also saw a cameo from Miss Lisa Ray.
Yes.
As Amber's mama.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, well, this is cool. Right. So I just like seeing a huge cast of like well-known celebrities, even celebrities that I grew up seeing, and seeing them again. It's just like, it's so refreshing to me. I'm like,
and I hadn't seen Lisa Ray in like a little bit, so like you said, I was just like, it took a little bit. You were like, is that
Yeah, right. I was like,
but she was looking good, Shout out to Lisa Ray,
For sure. Shout out, and we also have a couple shows that we want to shout out for you all here on our live read. Before we move any further, what you got?
Yes, indeed. Hey, AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. So there is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. And by subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button now for this channel, and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us to be the ESPN of TV talk.
There it is. I knew you could read good.
Right.
I love it. So I want to get into Spencer and Joe. I mean, they are truly business partners for life. Right. Like, that's got to be great, though. Like, you have somebody who you know that you can always go into business with.
Right. No, I think... Yeah, this business venture is gonna be interesting, just because it is a little outside of their.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Their realm, so that's gonna.
After this first episode, do you think this company is a good investment? Yes or no?
I think they're gonna have to go in and, like I said, since it's. I can see there's going to be some butting of heads going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's it? Richard Branson's character? I'm forgetting his name right now. He seems, and even just in the upcoming episodes, he seems very, still maybe like controlling of his company. He seems just like a freewheeler, just like, like this and this,
And we saw that too in the previews for the next, for the upcoming season, I guess. He was just very like, I built this from the ground up.
Right.
I answered to me.
Right.
So that lets us know it's going to be a problem.
One thing that The Rock kept bringing up, Spencer kept bringing up, is he's like, wow, a lot of stuff when he was telling him about the business, he says, wow, that sounds expensive. Like, sounds like he just floods out, just bleeds money. Even for next week's episode, when they were shooting the video, he was like, this looks like an expensive video. So I think maybe so I'm thinking one issue may be, the finances. Maybe this guy's an out of control spender, and he's like, we got to do this to, and maybe fiscally as a business, Spencer might be like, hey man, we got to change some stuff up. So I think it's gonna, and where Joe falls in, since he knows Richard Branson, but he's business partners with Spencer.
So it's another tug of war.
That relationships, maybe one is gonna get tested, or maybe like, come on, Spence, let's see, and it's like, so that's gonna be a good one.
I could see a lot of incidents where Spencer's trying to pull Joe back, like, bro, like, let's step back into reality. Like, let's look at this from the outside looking in. What is going on? Right. This is a $50 million investment.
No joke.
And with that investment comes with the CEO, the original CEO, the guy who built this company. Right. So, there's definitely it's going to be a lot of like possessive issues. So we'll see how that goes.
Because also, like, you think about those kind of big transactions, I mean, like whether it's corporate America or like this kind of stuff, I mean, a lot of times when you're talking like that kind of money, usually you have some investors, or he's going to go out, I'm assuming, and drum up some financing from some. So a lot of times those kind of people will be like, hey, if I'm giving you the money, I needed this thing run in a certain way. Or like you said, even the way like with the stock market, you know, like when you buy stocks, it's like you're all buying parts of the company, you know,
shares.
So that's what they do. So the CEOs and all, they kind of cater to the share because it's like, hey, that's where we, you know. So if Richard Branson is going to still be kind of free, wanting to do things his way, and maybe it's like, hey man, we can't be doing that. We got, you know, it's going to be some good.
I don't freaking know, dude. How do you feel about the company culture though? I'm like, this is some like tech bro. I don't like that.
Well, the way
but the women, they seem to be okay with it. But I'm still, you know, even whenever he kicked him out that room, he's like, hey, fuck off. Fuck out of here. I'm like, yo, what? You can't be talking to me.
I was just like, that was the first thing that struck me. And I think especially.
I was like, this is a red flag.
Even with Spencer, he was just like, okay, so human resources. I see you probably. Because I'm like, yeah, man, you can't. It's like he was living in like a different time when that was like, you know,
right.
and it's
that's
like,
what I was thinking. So I'm like, what year is this? Right. I'm pretty sure you can't act like that. But hey, I'm not a tech bro.
He's dropping like P bombs on P, and I was like, wow. When and then with the girls right there, you know, and they were just like, hey, you know, so it's like,
really,
obviously this is, you know, somehow in the culture, like you said, that's somehow accepted. But I feel like again, maybe once Spencer and Joe come on, maybe they might try to run a tight ship because, like you said, all it would take is one person to be like, "I'm not in agree. He said this, or this makes me."
I'm like, this is a walking sexual harassment
and
issue,
that could go down. Yeah, like the whole company could just, you know,
and it's done. And there's your $50 million investment.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't feel like this is going to be a good investment. And I'm pretty sure that I feel like that's the purpose. They're showing us that they invested in something that seemed like a good idea because it is a tech company, you know, and it's very sports related. It's a different type of sport, you know. It's definitely not football because they're talking about surfing, and we saw them with the skateboarders and everything. But I'm
sorry to
they're above their head. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I think, like you said, with the success of like the X Games and all that kind of stuff recently, I mean.
There's money in
That's what I'm saying. Like that thing has exploded, and just like you said, the stars in that sport. I mean, it's a worldwide, you know, type thing. So I'm sure that's kind of the thinking in terms of getting into this is just like, hey, like this is like a huge market, you know, and like you said, there's money.
I used
to be made.
really be into like skaters and stuff like that, so I was very familiar with like X Games. I used to know skaters and stuff, all that stuff, like back in high school. But now again, like just coming from them and I don't know. I just feel like just because football is like their thing, I don't think they can really translate that over into like X Games type stuff. I really don't feel that.
It'll, like you said, I don't know if they're gonna bring on some people maybe from that world to like help them out. But like you said, that is kind of I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what avenue they're gonna take.
Yeah, but also with Spencer, we see that he's gonna take that young football player under his wing. So is that gonna bring him back to football, and he's gonna want to push away the X Games, you know, tech stuff? I don't know. That's what I want. I feel like it is.
I almost feel like I wonder if it'll be one of those things where maybe he gives the reins to Joe. It's kind of like, hey, you really wanted to, because you know Joe was like, man, I
feel that
I brought this opportunity. Like, so maybe it'll just be like, hey, I'm gonna get it up and going, but maybe that'll be like Joe's thing. Like, hey,
feel you.
That's your boy. You want to do this. I'm just kind of the seed, the capital guy. I'll get you up and going.
Yeah.
And kind of like that overseer.
Like, I'll cheer you on.
Yeah. And he may be like the overseer, like, hey, you come report to me how things are doing.
Now, that's a dynamic that could work. That's something that could work.
So that'll be, because they seem, and Joe might be maybe more the day-to-day guy, and maybe Spencer will be more like, I just kind of, hey,
for the special
bring me the
meetings.
numbers. How are we?
He'll be the special meetings guy.
Because like you said, he doesn't seem like he's real into it, unless maybe he just, as the season goes along, he grows and gets into it. But
judging from those previews, I don't feel like he does.
Yeah, unless, like you said, stuff goes down, or he needs to step in to do stuff, which I'm sure will happen.
Yeah, definitely.
For us, the audience.
Yeah, and for you, the audience, before we move on, I just want to let you know to check us out on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Let's little sound effect. That's so cute.
5 stars.
You can check us out, yes. And also on SoundCloud, we have everything. You know, we discuss comedy, drama, sports. Hello. So definitely check us out and make sure you comment us. Tell them that Ivanna is your favorite. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
She's like, no, but for real.
No, but also seriously. So I want to get back into topic 3, which is Charles. We cannot not talk about Charles because what the hell? Good news first. He is, of course, general manager of the Rams, and that's amazing. Somebody else who's a part of the Rams organization, you know, the higher up, came in there and tried to kind of psych him out. It seemed like, how does it feel to be over 300 people, pal? Like, dude, okay.
I feel it was. I don't know if that was like the owner or something, because he said everybody here works for you, and then like, he was like, except for you. So I'm assuming,
it's only like
the only people above general managers are usually like the president and like you know, there's only a couple people. So he was some big swinging guy, but yeah, it's I think. It'll be interesting with Charles and how he handles this, because he seems like, as we saw at the end, and he seems like the people pleaser. You know,
he's always been a people pleaser.
Everybody's like, I need to know, you know, and he's like, I don't want to tell these people, you know. So he's like, everybody's job is safe. And I don't know if you noticed the guy at the when there's the owner, the president came in, and he kind of looked at him and he actually said a little expletive word, calling him basically a weakling, you know. And Charles he was just like, because it's like you feel like it's one of those things, like an organization, like how can you guarantee people's job security? Because he's still, you just got there.
They're still gonna have to make cuts. So I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you tell everybody like, yeah, your job is safe, and I'm bringing back chocolate chip cookies? What?
You know what that sounds like? It's a lot of the like when you get into politics, like all the stuff that presidential candidates, you know, like I'm gonna cut taxes and I'm gonna do like, really? Okay. And none of it ever, you know. So I feel
better
like
healthcare and more chocolate chip cookies. Like, nah, man.
Yeah, it'll, like you said, I mean, it's always easy to be like, no, you should have just been up front or said something like, you know, well, we'll see, or it's gonna be a tough problem, you know. But like you said, his personality is definitely not like direct.
It's
you
not.
know, it's like, man, like I don't, that face. I'm receiving. No, you're good. You're good. You don't really. Okay, Charles. So
for sure. I don't know, man. We and I look forward to seeing Charles and his wife too. So
it's a good, you know. Well, and like you said, I wonder if, you know, he's gonna have to make some tough decisions coming down the pipe, and I wonder, like you said, if that might spill over into the home life,
because he gets stressed out really easily as well. So I know this is gonna pour into his marriage, and we'll see where this goes.
That'll.
My goodness.
It will. I mean, they set it up good. I mean, I liked it overall. You know, I loved this. I loved how they kind of set things up, because, like you said, it can go in so many directions with all the storylines that that we're mentioning. It's like, man, it's some, you know, and like you said, I don't know. I think of all of those ones, or the ones that we talked about, I feel like, I don't know. I keep going.
We'll talk about that in predictions. Okay. We'll go there. Yes. I do want to give a shout out to our fans, though. Thanks to you all for watching. You have stuck with us for 4 seasons. We'll look forward to talking with y'all more in the live chat. And I do want to go into news and gossip. I don't have a lot of gossip, but snap.
Here we go.
Oh, that's it. Okay, news. Our very own, who plays Rickey, Mr. John David Washington. I just saw him in the movies yesterday, actually. His film, he's in Black Klansman. And I would definitely say go and check it out. It is... well, you haven't seen it.
I am not.
It's so new. It just came out. So let me not. I don't want to spill it. I just want to say go see it. And then maybe next week we can discuss it or something. You can y'all can reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter, and we can talk about it, you guys. Okay. Now that's it. I just want to get into predictions, and now we can do your predictions. Okay. And now
your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
And go.
Okay. Dealing with the company stuff, with the exports.
Yeah, man.
Company. I think that somehow I feel that something big. I don't know if something with with Spencer's, with his whole brother dying and coming back, to California. I don't know if something like that is going to spill over into the business part of it, because I felt that was kind of weird, like just how they brought that up. It was just
it was so
in
abrupt.
terms of
but suicide is abrupt.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's, I don't know. I just. You know what? This baller just throws everything at me, and I just have to just take it.
I wanted to know. I kind of wanted to know more about. I mean, he said that he had jumped off the bridge, which consequently I know that was down in, I think, like San Pedro or something. That's like the San Pedro bridge.
I was like, they're in Long Beach or something like that. I thought that. Yes.
For sure. I was like, I know. And the crazy thing is,
sorry, it's not something to laugh about, but no, I recognize the area. Okay.
No, actually, quick story about that bridge. For the people out there. So I used to work at a credit union that was actually down there, and I actually went and visited our membership was firefighters. So I went down to the San Pedro Fire Department. They took us on like a field trip or whatever, and it's right next to that bridge. Oh. And the guy said that not only do we have one of the chief of the fire department. He said, not only do we have like firefighters here, but we have like our dive team and all this stuff. Cause he's like, a lot of times, like we do have he's like more than a couple times a year, people are always trying to jump off that bridge.
That
it's a
terrifying.
Crazy thing. And he's like, the dive team, unfortunately, when people do, they're the ones who have to go down and like find the body and all this stuff. So I was like, wow, when he showed that to me, I was like, no, that's a real thing. Like a lot of people, they've tried to build like really high walls and all this stuff, but people always end up getting out there. No. And that is like, of all the places.
Like, wow, you recognize that? That's real. Oh, yeah.
So that's why when he said it, he's like, my brother committed suicide off this. I was like, yeah, that's like no joke. That's like a real thing. Like people.
Wow. Well, maybe one of the writers have connected to that bridge in that way as well. That's sad.
It is. So that's why I was like, man, that was the one real thing.
What's your other predictions?
As far as with Rickey, I think, we already saw him like in the upcoming episodes. Looks like he was back on the field running around, catching passes or something, talking about he wants to come back. So it looked like you heard him and Charles talking about maybe coming back to the Rams, and he was like, hey, I'll come back if you do. So I was like, does that mean Charles might try to come, because it sounded like Rickey has said that like they didn't show it, but it's like you heard their voices on the upcoming episodes. Yeah. So that would be interesting because, I feel like Charles has always had kind of second thoughts about coming when he left the game, like, did I leave too early type thing. So is he going to get an itch, or maybe general managing won't work out for him, or I don't know.
Oh, I hope it does.
I
hope it does, but so many people have to push Charles to be great. Right.
Like you kind of wonder, will he just have that one like moment of like I'm tired of getting pushed, like don't tell me what to do. I'm tired of this. And people are like, whoa, like, I don't know.
Yeah, because I just knew last season he was just gonna like explode. I just knew it, but. And I thought that it was gonna, I don't know. I was just really expecting him to almost have a breakdown for like a long time. But that's Rickey. Right. And that was my prediction too. I feel like the stress with now becoming a more present father. He's always been a father, but now he's got to be more present in her life. He's got to establish this relationship or continue, building this relationship with Amber. Their mess was tumultuous. We still haven't seen Rickey's mom. We don't know about that. And then we didn't see his dad. And then he's got his friend, the house, his health. That stress, I think, is going to continue to affect Rickey. And I think that's going to continue. All of that is going to continue to affect him mentally. And I think it's going to show up to a point where they're going to feel like he's not ready to go back on the field.
And what if, I'm thinking, if he does, what if he's not like the same player? Like when he gets
There's
out,
no way he's going to be the same player.
And, that could be hard, like you said, going back to mental state, like with him, like, I'm trying to play, but I'm not the same dude, like,
because there's already that imprint there, so to speak. And then when it's your mental health like that and your physical health, it's not like you can go back. Right. You know what I mean? Part of the damage is done, and you just have to, be really sensitive to your own health from there. Right. But if you want to go back on the field and play football.
And especially like a game like football, it's just like, bunch of alphas, out there, and it's kind of. I feel like when
and that hyper masculinity and that ego,
and that's what I'm saying.
dude.
It's kind of like when you get out, and it's like if you can't do like what you're used to doing, you know, like I know how to do it, but you can't. Like I said, whether it's because of injury or getting older, like whatever.
If you just simply can't physically perform the way you used to.
And even in their heads, I know they're like, no, I could do it. But it's just the body is like, hey, man, we're either older,
we can't do this.
We're hurt, or we're trying. It's just not the same. So, and then like you said, that can kind of sink in, like you said, mentally, maybe bleed over into family life, So that's like you said, that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
I think with Spencer now and this new investment that he didn't really want, it's gonna force him to be in LA more, which is gonna force him to deal with his brother's suicide, which is gonna force him to face his demons more. And Spencer loves to run away from things. He doesn't really like to have these conversations and talk about it, but it's gonna force him to have these conversations more. I
was actually also thinking in terms of when they were showing, when they were looking at the high school kid. And how he said, and that when he was doing that interview, he's like, "Oh, I'm looking at his mom. I'm not looking at him." And I'm like, you see her, and like the next one looks like they go and meet with him or something like that.
Such a womanizer.
Is that gonna, is that like another, something that might maybe to win over this client, this high school kid,
something
or
that's gonna keep him then, right?
Maybe you might have to, yeah. Maybe something might surface out of that. But.
For sure. So those are my predictions. The tech company that they inherited is not a good idea. It was not a good investment. And I'm going to stick with that. I don't really see this working out. I don't know how they're going to get out of it.
It's like you said, with I feel Joe's going to be real instrumental in, like you said, either in the downfall of it or bringing it up.
Because Joe is impulsive too. So, having a friend like that could either bring you down, and we'll see.
Especially if he sides with, if he's all, maybe if Spencer's always coming to him and he's like, well, no, what is Richard Branson's character? I cannot remember his name.
I don't have his name. We'll find it next time.
But
Sorry,
if he's always Lance. Okay. If he's always maybe siding with Lance, like, no, come on, man, like, Lance, this, and I could just see that
issue.
And maybe that might become a breaking point with like Spencer, like, hey man, if you don't get things going right, we're gonna have to cut ties, or and. Who knows? And like I said, Lance doesn't seem like the type like he's about to roll over or concede control.
Not at all. And I wouldn't either. This is my company. I've been able to run this how I want and talk to people the way I want to. Like, no, I'm not giving this up.
Especially for $50 million. You'd be like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
So we're going to wrap this up, you guys. Hopefully we talked long enough for you all. I do just want to say thanks again, y'all, for joining us for this episode of Rough Ride. Where can we find you?
Again, I'm Tenere. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TenereW.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
And I'm Ivanna. I recently changed all my socials. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Find me everywhere at Hey, I'm Ivanna. Again, it's at Hey, I'm IVANNA.
Oh, look at the little neck there.
Again, y'all, this has been episode 1, season 4, episode 1 of Ballers, and we will see you all next week right here on AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.